Yo everyone, and welcome to the channel. Today we're diving deep into the economic collapse of Sri Lanka. This beautiful island nation, known for its stunning landscapes and rich history, has been grappling with a devastating economic crisis for the past few years. We'll explore the factors that led to this situation, the impact it's had on the people of Sri Lanka, and the potential lessons for other countries.
Bankrupt Sri Lanka asked citizens abroad to send home cash.
To Sri Lanka now and the desperate economic problems there.
Sri Lanka protests over the state of the economy, high cost of living and falling living standards were opposing the steep rise in taxes as Sri Lanka prepares for presidential elections.
In the picturesque countryside of Sri Lanka, farmers diligently prepare for the next rice harvest, often hindered by the occasional elephant. In early 2021, they faced a far more daunting challenge. The government abruptly announced a ban on the importation of essential fertilizers, aiming to transform Sri Lanka into the world's first entirely organic food producer. This sudden policy shift, amid the supply shortages caused by the 2020 lockdowns, exacerbated the already rising food prices. Coupled with geopolitical disruptions in Europe and a drastic reduction in Sri Lanka's agricultural output, the cost of food skyrocketed, reflecting deeper governmental mismanagement and foreshadowing an impending economic collapse. Within 2 years, Sri Lanka's foreign currency reserves plummeted from $9.2 billion to a mere $50 million, insufficient for even a day's worth of imports or the $6.6 billion needed for loan repayments. On April 12, the government ceased these payments, resulting in the country being cut off from international loans. Basic necessities became scarce, rolling blackouts crippled businesses, and social unrest surged, mirroring the chaos of the country's brutal 30-year civil war. Sri Lanka's crisis could be a harbinger for other poorly managed developing nations facing similar economic distress. Despite its challenges, Sri Lanka boasts significant development comparable to Eastern European countries and higher production per capita than nations like Indonesia and Egypt. It occupies a crucial global shipping route, ranks as the fourth largest producer of black tea, and is a major exporter of natural rubber, spices, and precious metals. From the end of its civil war in 2009 to 2018, Sri Lanka saw a tourism boom, drawing large foreign currency inflows and driving rapid economic growth. However, its reliance on tourism also meant a significant trade deficit, as it imported more than it exported, necessitating a delicate balance of foreign currency management. The devastating Easter Sunday terrorist attacks in 2019 severely impacted tourism, causing visitor numbers to plummet and crippling the economy. In response, Sri Lankans elected Gotabaya Rajapaksa, a strongman known for his role in ending the civil war. Rajapaksa's tenure saw a series of controversial policies, including tax cuts and excessive money printing, which eroded government revenue and depleted foreign reserves. The pandemic's impact further strained the economy, with tourism coming to a near halt and the government's efforts to maintain a fixed exchange rate further depleting reserves. In 2021, the government's ill-fated fertilizer ban, ostensibly to reduce the trade deficit, severely reduced food production, leading to widespread shortages. The situation worsened with the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine, which disrupted global wheat and petroleum supplies, driving up import costs. The government could no longer maintain the fixed exchange rate, causing the rupee to lose 30% of its value and further depleting foreign reserves. Sri Lanka's economic collapse led to widespread social unrest, with shortages of basic necessities, prolonged blackouts, and escalating violence. The government declared a state of emergency as protests grew. The likelihood of significant international aid diminished due to the government's poor track record and escalating unrest. Globally, the economic strain is evident in other nations like Tunisia, Pakistan, and Argentina, facing similar challenges due to rising inflation and debt burdens. The situation in Sri Lanka is a stark reminder of how quickly an economy can deteriorate, transforming a once rapidly developing country into one struggling with basic survival. This crisis highlights the fragility of economies overly dependent on external factors and the importance of prudent economic management. As global economic conditions remain volatile, other nations may find themselves facing similar hardships, underscoring the need for robust economic policies and international cooperation to prevent further collapses. Sri Lanka's current predicament serves as a dire warning to other nations, particularly those with fragile economies and high levels of debt. The ripple effects of its economic collapse could have far-reaching consequences, potentially triggering a series of similar crises in other vulnerable countries. One of the primary lessons from Sri Lanka's experience is the critical importance of maintaining a diversified economy. Over-reliance on tourism and agricultural exports left the country exceedingly vulnerable to external shocks. Countries with similar economic structures must take proactive steps to diversify their sources of income and reduce dependence on any single sector. Sound fiscal and monetary policies are essential. The Sri Lankan government's decision to slash taxes without securing alternative revenue sources, combined with excessive money printing, led to severe fiscal imbalances. Governments should aim for sustainable fiscal policies, avoiding measures that might provide short-term relief but cause long-term harm. The role of political stability and governance cannot be overstated. Sri Lanka's political landscape, marked by nepotism and concentration of power, exacerbated its economic woes. Strong institutions, transparency, and accountability are vital for maintaining investor confidence and ensuring effective governance. International aid and cooperation also play a crucial role in mitigating economic crises. However, assistance must be contingent upon the implementation of robust economic reforms. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, and other global financial institutions should work closely with countries at risk to develop and enforce comprehensive recovery plans, ensuring that financial aid is used effectively and efficiently. For the global community, Sri Lanka's crisis underscores the interconnectedness of economies. Events in one part of the world can have significant repercussions elsewhere, particularly in an era of global trade and finance. It is imperative for nations to collaborate on stabilizing the global economy, addressing systemic risks, and supporting vulnerable economies. Looking ahead, Sri Lanka faces a challenging path to recovery. The immediate priorities include securing essential supplies, stabilizing the currency, and restoring public confidence. The government must engage with international lenders and negotiate favorable terms to restructure its debt. Additionally, long-term structural reforms are necessary to rebuild the economy and prevent future crises. The international community has a role to play in supporting Sri Lanka's recovery. Humanitarian aid, technical assistance, and favorable trade terms can provide much-needed relief. However, these efforts should be accompanied by stringent oversight to ensure that aid reaches those in need and contributes to sustainable development. Sri Lanka's story is a poignant reminder of the delicate balance required to maintain economic stability. It highlights the consequences of policy missteps, the importance of economic diversification, and the need for strong governance. As the world navigates through turbulent economic times, the lessons from Sri Lanka should inform strategies to build more resilient and inclusive economies. Sri Lanka's economic collapse is not just a national tragedy, but a global cautionary tale. It calls for immediate action to address the root causes of economic vulnerability and highlights the need for international solidarity in times of crisis. The road to recovery will be long and arduous, but with concerted effort and wise policy choices, Sri Lanka can rebuild and emerge stronger, offering hope and lessons for other nations facing similar challenges. The immediate priority for Sri Lanka is to address the humanitarian crisis. With food shortages, soaring prices, and prolonged blackouts, the daily lives of Sri Lankans have become increasingly difficult. International aid agencies, in collaboration with the Sri Lankan government, must ensure that essential supplies such as food, medicine, and fuel reach those most in need. Efforts should be made to streamline the distribution process to prevent corruption and ensure transparency. Stabilizing the economy is crucial. This involves restoring confidence in the Sri Lankan rupee and controlling inflation. The government should engage in negotiations with international financial institutions, such as the IMF and World Bank, to secure emergency funding and debt relief. These negotiations should be transparent, with clear plans for economic reforms that include fiscal discipline, anti-corruption measures, and policies to foster economic diversification. Rebuilding public trust is essential for social stability. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more in-depth explorations of current events. Until next time, stay curious.